Lisa, let's go ahead and get the meeting started. Thank you for recording. Okay, let's do a roll call. Valerie. Valerie. Okay, Linda, I see you. Hi, Linda.
Here.
Julia emailed me and let me know she wasn't going to be available today. So she's got an excused absence. Grant. Hi, Grant. Linda.
Yeah, we're both here.
Well, Linda Whitney, sorry.
Yes,
Miranda.
I'm here.
Miranda, are you
I'm
here?
here. Uh-huh.
Okay. Kirsten.
I'm here.
Okay. Amber. Yeah.
I'm present.
Hi, Amber. Seamus, I see you as well. Do we have a county commissioner here today? No. Jill, are you here? Yes, I see you.
Hello, I'm here. Yes.
Okay. Lisa's here. Monica is not here today. Is that correct, Lisa, still? Okay.
Correct.
Shira, I see you.
Present.
How about Lori Moore from DD
She's
Service?
coming.
She's coming? Okay.
Coming.
Do we have any
I'm here.
guests?
Sorry, can you hear me? I'm here.
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Do we have any guests present? I
I'm
don't see.
admitting Valerie right now also.
What's that?
I'm admitting Valerie. She's just
Oh,
logging on right now.
okay, perfect. Okay. Let's move to the agenda for today. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda?
I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, sorry if you took roll call before I got here. I was a few minutes late.
Oh, that's okay. You're here. I got you on the list here. Okay, the agenda. Anybody have any additions or changes they would like to make to the agenda? If not, then I would like to get a motion to approve the agenda as is.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I,
Nay? All against? Okay, motion has approved or has been approved to support the agenda as is. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes from our November 7th meeting.
Yes.
Anybody have any comments, changes, additions? If not, then I would like to get a motion to approve the November 7th minutes as is.
I'll move that we approve the November 7th minutes as presented.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion has been passed. Okay, let's go to public comment. I don't believe we have any guest speakers or public comment period here today. So we'll move on to number 5, discussion. So I will start on that. And did everybody have a chance to maybe just review our bylaws at all? Just kind of do an update on them. So in section 3, Article 3, section 3, it states council shall come together no less than 4 times per year to conduct the business of the council. So I guess my question would be, do we want to continue having monthly meetings or maybe every other month or maybe once per quarter to meet our minimum? I just wanted just to throw it out to everybody to see what everybody's comments and thoughts were on that.
Randy, I would prefer to meet every monthly, and if we don't have a lot, we could have short meetings. Do we know if are we gonna be doing grants this year or I
We're gonna
just,
get to that. We're gonna get to that here pretty soon.
okay. So, yeah, I'd prefer to at least have it set monthly.
Okay.
We don't have a lot to talk about. We could have short meetings or maybe say we don't need to meet next month.
Yeah, like we did last month. So, okay. Yeah, I just throwing it out. How about everybody else? What do you think?
I agree.
I
Yeah, I agree with Linda.
Okay. Everybody
Yeah,
else
I
okay with
agree
that?
too, Randy. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. We'll just leave it as is then. Monthly meetings. Uh, Number B, purpose and goals of the Human Services Advisory Council. So I wanted to just throw this out for comments and see what your thoughts are. So I don't know, the past few months, I just felt a real disconnect, and I believe I have stated this prior to this as well. Just a disconnect from the Board of Commissioners. Our last person from the board, from the commissioners that was appointed to us, rarely showed up and didn't have a lot of input. And I just keep thinking back prior to this last commissioner who was assigned to us, the previous commissioner, Sarah Newbecker, was always at our meetings. I mean, almost every single time. And that was when we were in-person meetings, and she showed up. She had a lot of input and what the board was up to, and took a lot of stuff from us back to the board. And this past year or two, I don't know, I just feel a disconnect. And so I just wanted to open that up for discussion to see what y'all thought about that.
Um, so Randy, when I was going through this, I was looking at, we're like in Article 2, duties and responsibilities, identify the needs and establish priorities of 3 areas of interest. And then the interests were listed down section 3, and then to participate in selection of service providers. So I don't know if that's where you're headed. Are we actually doing that with the council? And then I was trying to think, what service providers are we recommending for? Are we supposed to be doing those recommendations for and the evaluations for and the selection of, I guess? Is that kind of where you're headed or
Well,
what do you think?
well, I mean, the only really thing that we do that I feel is directly involved with the commissioners is the grant funding, where set we review applications and recommend who we would like to see receive that grant money. And then we go back and they come and through the course of the year and report back to us what they spent the money on. And then plus when we have new applications for our council, then they get reviewed and then get passed along to the commissioners. Outside of that, I just don't see any other connection. I mean, I don't know. Especially with no one from the Board of Commissioners attending our meetings regularly to offering input on what's going on with them. What I find out about what's going on with the Board of Commissioners is what I read in the newspapers, and never from, the past couple of years, never from anybody from the Board of Commissioners or from our assigned person. So that's where my disconnect is at lately.
Randy, I don't have the frame of reference you do going back that long, because in the time I've been on this group, I think there's only been a commissioner here once.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
And there wasn't lots of input. And personally, I'd like to see more input because
Mhm.
I'm here to learn more what's going on and understand what's happening. But it does seem like there's a hole there.
Yeah, as am I, Grant. And like I said, prior to this last commissioner being assigned to us, the previous commissioner, Sarah, she was always at our meetings. Like I said, they were in-person meetings mostly until we went to virtual. But she offered a lot of input. She listened to us. She took ideas back to the board, and it's just not been there since she's been gone. That's where the disconnect is, where I'm coming from. Lisa might have some ideas. and maybe Jill.
Yeah,
Jill has her hand up.
yeah, I can speak a little bit to it. So yeah, as we know, there has been some changes in the makeup of the county commissioners. And on Wednesday, January 8th, they'll be swearing in a reappointment and a new commissioner. And I don't know how long after that they will either reassign or assign commissioners to the different advisory councils. So we'll be finding out, I would say, hopefully by the next meeting, but it's not my place to, I did email and ask when that typically occurs to find out when that is. But, one thing that we could think of, especially if you guys are going to continue to meet monthly, is like, what input do you want from a commissioner? And I know that the current agenda has like commissioner report on there, but maybe there's something specific that you're asking them to report on, or that there's a specific issue or piece of legislation or whatever it might be that you guys are talking about, and you have a specific ask of the commissioner, because then they also know kind of their purpose coming to you as well. So there might be a way that to make that agenda item maybe a little bit more robust and meaningful to the commissioner, depending on who it is and their personality, which we don't know yet.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And
Lisa?
Jill,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Linda.
so Jill, what areas are we responsible? Because it's saying this developmental disabilities, mental health, and alcohol and drugs. So what entities? It says to participate in selection of service providers. So what service providers are we involved with?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that right now, as things have evolved here since those bylaws. And I think that part of that is from statutory language when the local alcohol and drug planning committees, which your Human Services Advisory Council acts as, used to be responsible for signing off on different providers. The state no longer requires that, but that could be some of that residual language that then also applied to the Board of County Commissioner grants to outside agencies. And so the selection of those providers as well. What does that mean in the future? I think that's a great either Commissioner or Monica question as well. So sorry, I don't have an answer.
Okay, thanks, Jill. Maybe we can come up with agenda items or what we're working on to put on the agenda for the incoming or whoever is going to be assigned to us. And then also maybe just have them come back to us like they used to and just give a quick report, like a 5-10 minute report on what they're working on, where they're at, and just kind of keep us in the loop on what's going on. Like I said, whatever I know about them, I find out through the papers. And I'd like to find out through it here before the papers. So, Lisa, do you have any ideas?
Amber, I saw you had your hand up for a little while.
Oh,
Did
I
you have
didn't see
something
it.
you wanted to say before I jump in?
Thank you, Lisa. No, I think Jill basically answered my question, because I was thinking back to a couple of years ago when there was a new alcohol. I think it was maybe drug and alcohol, but it was targeted towards youth. Like public health was doing something, and I think I was on the council at that time. I can't recall, but I'm just curious, like, is that the type of thing that the commissioners would want impact or input from the committee on stuff like that when there's a new initiative that they're rolling out, and like want some, perspectives on what that might look like and what, we recommendations that we might have. So I'm just thinking about things like that initiative, and that it would be really helpful if we knew those things were being discussed and had an opportunity to offer recommendations. So I think the more involvement we can have with the commissioners and having someone present at each meeting would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you kind of want to respond to that, Lisa?
Yeah, that was actually the thing that I honed in on when I was rereading the bylaws was first, not quite addressing what you said, Amber, but back to kind of the choosing service providers. I know that before me, I don't know if it was while Jill was here, I think Randy and Linda, you guys were here, but there was a transfer from when you guys were kind of responsible for overseeing and receiving complaints for disability services. Is that right? And then we realized that that wasn't a good fit. And so was it disability services? And so it moved back to the state for them to be kind of the overseeing. Am I not saying Jill explain?
Yeah.
Jill can explain it.
Yeah, it wasn't so much about the complaints, and those weren't coming to the Human Services Advisory Council. However, the Advisory Council was definitely involved in those conversations, but that was more really about the work that needed to get done between the provider and the state, and the county just didn't need to be the middleman for that work to be effective and efficient.
And so I'm just wondering if the bylaws were updated after that change, or if there might still be some old language in there that's left over from them holding that role that they no longer need. I don't know if the bylaws were updated after that change. I don't know if anybody else knows if they were, but looking,
the bylaws, the last time the bylaws were revised was in 2020.
2023, and I think that was the absences.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you are correct. Yes,
yeah.
2023.
So
Sorry.
I don't know if they were updated looking at it from that lens at all. And so that might be worth talking about with Monica, just making sure that this is really clearly stating like what it is that you guys are responsible now, and it's not including that portion that you don't need to be doing. And then speaking more to what Amber said, I really kind of honed in on the prevention part because that's my new role is prevention. And there's definitely a lot, and harm reduction is the other program. And so I just got my plans. Well, they're still preliminarily approved, but pretty much approved with the state for our alcohol and other drug prevention. And we also got some opioid settlement primary prevention funds that we have a plan for. And so I do see opportunities. Actually, in my update, I was going to talk to you about what we're working on in all those plans. And I feel like there would be opportunity in the future for me to be sharing more status updates with each of those initiatives, getting your feedback on them. And then potentially, if there's something that if we are giving out a mini grant, or if we've done an initiative that also had like a contest, like an art contest, then giving you guys kind of the background to be able to serve as the adult board who's helping us determine who the winners are. First, if we're doing like a youth art contest or something. And so I see ways to engage with you guys more around our prevention programs. And then like we're doing the strategic planning for our harm reduction program right now. And we've just had internal meetings. The next stage, I think, is getting some feedback from other organizations, community-based organizations that work directly with people who are using drugs, so that we can get their feedback on what would be best. And then I want to bring those ideas to you guys as well to find out what is your take on these different strategies that we're thinking might help increase the effectiveness of the program. So those are the ways that I think I can definitely engage with you guys. I'd also, when me and Randy were talking about this before the meeting to put the agenda together, if you guys want more input, we can also put together a agenda item for a work session, and you can ask the Board of County Commissioners. I mean, maybe you want to wait until this new commissioner gets appointed and to get their feedback on that process. when they're coming to the meetings. But if you do feel like you need more focus and maybe the bylaws do need to be updated because things have changed and they haven't really evolved with those changes, then going back to the Board of County Commissioners and asking them what they would like you to be focusing on, and what ideas you have, then that might also be a good option to get more of a focus and more of a connection to them. Or if you want to be on the agenda for the work sessions biannually or quarterly, and you want to give them an update on the things of what you're hearing and what you're seeing in the community and in the programs that are coming and reporting to you, and ideas that you have, then we could see if we could get you on, like, a biannual basis, giving a presentation, kind of an update presentation to the Board of County Commissioners at a work session. I don't know what you think about that too, Jill, if that seems like it would be something they could do. Good. Okay. Thumbs up from her. I saw Amber had a thumbs up.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea biannually. Yeah, I'd like to see that as well. And then as far as the bylaws are concerned, I think probably we need to look at them and see if we want to update them. So maybe after this new, or whoever's going to be appointed to us, and we get their feedback, then maybe we can form a committee and have that committee look at the bylaws and maybe make some suggestions for revising if there are any, and then bring it back to the full council to talk about and see where we go on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we used to be more involved with the community-based. I don't know, Jill, if you remember, like there were the alcohol and drug groups that were coming in, going to set up the where people lived there, or anyway, and we were kind of involved with whether those groups should come in or not, and talked about their history and if we should recommend it to the state. So I don't know. I just would like to maybe see us more involved in which organizations we're using, and if some of us know about the organizations or something. I don't know if that makes sense, Randy. I
Yeah,
know
yes,
we used to be more involved
Yes.
with that,
yes, we did.
where the grants were going and where the funding and who was being recommended to the state. Yeah, that type of thing.
Okay. Something to look forward to and discuss and see where we end up at. So Jill, this person is going to be sworn in on the 8th. Do you think that we could find out who they appoint to us prior to our next meeting? Or Lisa? Anybody?
Yeah, I am not sure. Like I said, I did email Teresa and Monica to find out kind of when they do that appointment. So it's not on the meeting on the 8th, but in the work session, I don't see it. So I can't, it probably won't happen. I don't know if you'll have it by your February meeting.
Okay.
We can encourage it.
Okay.
How often do the Board of Commissioners meet?
They meet a couple times a month, and they meet in work session, which is a daytime meeting, and then they have evening meetings with a work session before the regular meeting. So I think 2 regular meetings a month and 1 work session meeting. Standalone work session meeting. Is that right, Lisa? So
I think it's like 1 week, it's just a work session, and then 2 weeks later, it's a work session followed by a standard meeting. Isn't that how it goes? So it's like 2 meetings a month, but kind of 3 meetings, but 2 of them are back to back.
I think that's what Joe stated, actually.
Is that what you said too, Jeff? In a different way.
Okay. Any more comments, questions, input on this topic? If not, then we'll move on. And we'll go to provider reports and we'll go to Shira. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Randy. Do you mind if Lori goes first?
No, not at all.
Okay, go ahead, Lori.
Okay. So I think I know most of you, and I've been to one of these, and it's been a long time ago, the last time Randy invited me. But I'm Lori Moore. I am the director of the Developmental Disabilities Program here with Clatsop Behavioral Health Care. And I'm just going to do a quick overview in case some of you might not know exactly what we do. CBH holds the contract with Oregon Developmental Disability Services, and we are known as the CDDP, which is the Community Developmental Disabilities Program. So anyone with an intellectual or developmental disability who is interested in services comes through our office to get those services, and there's a wide array of services that are offered. We have, for any questions about that, is everyone here pretty much aware of what developmental disability services? Okay. Okay. So I just really wanted to share some of the really exciting things we've been working on, and then I'll take any questions you might have. I'm going to start with the most recent, which is an event called Decky's Heroes, which was a Christmas event. And this was a foundation, a local foundation, who decided to gift everyone in Clatsop County who has a developmental or intellectual disability with $150 gift card at Fred Meyer. So it's a huge, wonderful shopping event. Most of my staff was there helping people through the process, and it was amazing. People were so happy and appreciative, and it was very heartwarming just to see everyone that showed up. Valerie was there uh, because it was open to everyone in brokerage, of course. So we had that event, very successful. There's a couple of other exciting things we're working on. One is we hired a position called an enhanced service coordinator position, which is really an outreach position so that we can have more eyes and ears in the community and outreach to the people that we feel like we are not able to reach right now. And it's going to be someone that, her name is Carrie. She's going to be involved in some school meetings, employment meetings with employment providers. Very exciting things going on with that. We have finally, through with Shira's help and CBH help, contracted with an interpreter so that we can offer better services to people in the Spanish-speaking community. We were using Linguaba, which is helpful, but it's only by phone. So now we have someone that we can call, and they will actually be able to attend these meetings to make families more comfortable. Advisory committee, speaking of advisory committees, we are required to have them. And after COVID, things kind of fell apart and we got off track. So we are restarting those meetings. Starting next week is our first one. It's going to be a quarterly meeting, and that will be a variety of CDDP staff along with parents, supported individuals, employment providers, educational providers. Randy, I think you are going to attend. So we're really excited about that. So we will be doing the same thing with our IDD community starting next week. That's pretty much all I have. I was going to give you an update. We ran some data. In 2024, we had 47 applicants. We made 30 of them eligible. The others were either ineligible or did not respond after they became eligible. So just give you some basic numbers. And we have grown significantly with employees. We now have 13 employees in this department, if I include myself, which I think when I started was 6 or 7 total. So we have grown significantly.
Great. Thanks, Lori. Hey, I want to comment on the Decky's Heroes. My daughter participated in that, and she was super happy. And it was just really, it's always joyful to go there and see everybody involved and how well it's run and just the joy on people's faces going shopping for Christmas. So,
Yes.
really, really a joy. So thanks to
Thank
Decky's
you. Yeah.
Heroes. for
Yeah,
putting that on.
and to you for going and attending with your daughter. Everyone was so happy and grateful. I mean, it really is just a wonderful thing. In addition to that, after we were finished shopping, they went around and bought several $100s worth of coats for homeless shelters. I think
Oh,
we
nice.
shopped for toys for tots. He said, go ahead and pick out $1,700 worth of toys. So that was fun. So it's not just the IDD community. It's an amazing event.
It is quite amazing. And I'm happy to see the advisory committee, Carrie getting the advisory committee up and running again. I was participated on that for quite a while before COVID and everything
Mhm.
shut it down. So I'm happy to see that back up and running. So
Yeah.
any questions or comments for Lori?
I have a couple questions. Um, so Lori, I was wondering, first of all, with the Duckies Heroes, is there who organizes the event? Is it CBH or is it the foundation?
So it is the foundation who initiated it and who funds it. So I'm not sure where they're getting all of their funding from. The person who's running it happens to be a local adult foster provider in our community.
Mhm.
And he started this foundation because of someone that he was really close to, and his name is Declan, who he was actually at the event. I'm not sure where they get their funding. And so it's that foundation that puts it on. And then it was a group effort. We had to reach out to everyone and we helped coordinate it and attended the event and helped people register, helped people shop. So it was just a group effort of a lot of volunteers
Mhm.
there helping people shop and doing the shopping. So it is not one person, but the major player is the foundation, of course.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because my son attended and I took him, my husband and I both went with him and it was awesome. My poor son though, he was not feeling that great. So he had to wear a mask and it was
Mm.
it was a little rough, but he definitely enjoyed himself. And I understood that this was the second year.
Yes.
And so my question about who's in charge of organizing it is because I'm wondering about getting feedback from families on what worked, what maybe didn't, because I did hear from a couple of people that they were very overwhelmed, and I guess the year before it was staggered. Um, I know that we waited in line for a really long time to check out. And so I also know that there was just a lot of like, there's the security tags for some of the jackets going off right by the register. And they're like, oh, if anybody breathes on them wrong, they go off, you know? So just for kiddos and adults too that have, sensory needs. Um, I'm just wondering if there's some things that can be done to mitigate some of that stuff. And so I'm
Sure.
wondering if there's a feedback process for families that
So
attend.
yeah, there is not officially. However, I will tell you, I've also received some of those calls. So the first step would be if the person does have, or if they're in services and have a service coordinator, to call them. And since it's a brand new process, and I'm not sure why it got limited to one day, that was between the foundation and Fred Meyer.
Mhm.
We were equally surprised because when it was 2 days, they were really long lines then. And then they said, okay, you can have one day, and they didn't open any more registers. So the purpose, the foundation wants the people receiving services to go themselves to attend. However, I have brought up with the foundation and they're in total agreement. That's a lot for some people to show up. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot going on, and it's very crowded. And a lot of our individuals do not like that. And a lot of the individuals are children who are getting these things for Christmas presents. So I think talking to the service coordinator, because we can. What I found out is we can put on the list, we create the list of who's going, and we could say, Mom will be shopping for this person. So they don't have to attend. The first year they said everyone has to go because they were afraid people would say, oh, I'm here to shop for this person and then buy things for themselves, which I understand that too. But like you said, there's a
Right.
lot of needs and there's a lot of times that it would benefit the person to have someone else do it on their behalf. Some
Right.
people, we definitely want to see that they are involved, especially the adults, that they are getting to go out and they're going to this
For
event, they're
sure.
seeing peers, they're actually
Yeah.
shopping, getting to do things, but sometimes that's not possible. So long story short, I would talk to the service coordinator, and I can also provide parents with, I don't know if they want us to give numbers. I would start with my office. So either the service coordinator or myself for next year, and we can work through those case by case.
Right. Okay. So it'll just be kind of on the case coordinators to let clients know, hey, if you have special circumstances, like that's something we can talk about. Because I know in
Yes.
the letter there was nothing that said like if you have any concerns or need special accommodations. I didn't see anything in the letter. And so yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe it would be helpful to put something in the letter. I don't know if you can give that feedback to
Yes.
Deck
So
Heroes
next
or
year
whoever.
yes, next year there will be, and we are learning those things very
Yeah.
quickly after the second event. So yeah, we're
Right.
going to have to do some work on the letter and say if if you can't attend or your son or daughter can't attend, please let your service coordinator know because we can make those changes on the list.
Right. Perfect. Well, thank you for listening to my feedback. I really appreciate it, Lori.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Amber. Any other comments, questions for Lori before we move on? Okay, thanks, Lori. Appreciate your input, and you're more than welcome to stick around for the rest of the meeting if you would like.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll go to Shira.
Great, thanks. Wanted to make sure that Lori had as much time as she needed to get through her portion of she was going to present on. I'll just give you all just kind of a couple of quick updates on some of our major projects as we've hit some exciting milestones. One being our Marine Drive project. It's a building that we're building in between Motel 6 and KFC. It'll be 32 units of permanent supported housing for individuals in the community with severe and persistent mental illness. We closed on the property on December 18th, which was a huge push and an exciting milestone. Construction is underway and we're set to have a new building about around Christmas time next year. So, well, this year, I mean, Christmas time a year from now. So we're really excited about that. And we're going to have kind of a small groundbreaking event for some stakeholders and leaders in the community in January. So questions about Marine Drive before I move on? No? Okay. Our Hawkeye project, which is partnership with Columbia Pacific Care Oregon, it's located in Seaside, is another permanent supported housing facility, and it's almost at capacity. We have 14 of the, 12 of the 14 units filled, and just seeing some really like cool things happening with that program in partnership with our shelter that we operate in Seaside as well. We had some outreach folks recently engage a houseless person out in the community. They actually picked him up and took him to our shelter. He spent a few weeks at the shelter and is now transitioning to permanent supported housing. This is an individual that's been homeless on the streets for several years. So that kind of stuff is happening regularly. And I just want you to know that what we're doing is working. And a lot of it is kind of, it's not stuff that the community is necessarily aware of or can see all of the time. But these are just major success stories. And, one life, one individual at a time, we're making a really significant impact. So it's cool to see this continuum of care that we have built in Clatsop County with the shelter and with permanent supported housing and with the psychiatric residential facility in partnership with all of our outpatient services, like really working as it should work to support people kind of from start to finish.
Shara, I've got a question about the one in Seaside. So do you know on the health services side, how many of those are filled now?
You mean like workforce?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah. We don't have like a direct partnership with kind of managing the workforce side.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Are you all interested in hearing about deflection?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you all have the context and the background of what deflection is. Yes. Okay, great. So our deflection program in Clatsop County is actually going really well. I think we're a leader in the state in the way that we're running our program and the way that we're interacting with clients. We had our first client completion, just over Christmas. We have 5, so we've had 6 participants. We have 5 active in the program right now. We meet every other week at the sheriff's office with the DA, with the county, with public health, with, CBH leadership, and Seaside PD. And we're just kind of constantly looking at our criteria and seeing if we need to relax our criteria to get more people engaged and involved in deflection, and kind of just talking about how it's going and how our partnerships are working. So it's a really active team that's really engaged in the program. And I'm excited about it. I think it's going well. I don't know that we'll really be able to see the impact of, deflection until maybe a year from now, when we can actually start to get some data. And there's even some talk of like potentially legislatively, maybe it needs to change from a misdemeanor, possession needs to change from a misdemeanor to a felony in order to really motivate people to participate in deflection, right? So there's some conversation like that happening. I don't know if that will happen or not, but currently, the number of folks that we have engaged are people that have chosen to really enter treatment and to work with us, in hopes that their criminal charges will be dismissed. So that's kind of where we're at. Questions, thoughts on deflection?
Any questions or comments for Shira?
So what do you think are the biggest challenges of getting more people in? Is it that felony versus?
I think the biggest challenge is that so often crimes of possession happen at the same time other crimes happen, right? So it's like theft or assault or trespass or these other things. And those are not charges necessarily that the DA is willing to deflect. The DA is willing to deflect charges related to possession. But if you steal $3,000 worth of goods from Walmart, are we willing to deflect that? Walmart probably isn't going to love that decision, right? Like if there's a victim in a crime, if it's theft or trespass or assault, then that victim has to be considered, and whether or not those charges could be dismissed and the person could be deflected. So it gets kind of complicated, and the DA kind of really has to consider case by case, what's okay, right? So those are the kinds of conversations that we're always having. The numbers are low because it's pretty rare for someone to only get busted for possession, right? Because typically you're going to have an interaction with law enforcement if you're like being disruptive, or you steal something, or someone calls and they're like, hey, this person shouldn't be on my property. And then throughout that experience, you figure out that person has substances on them or that they're using, and then they get a possession charge. But what do you do with these other charges? So what our team is doing is looking at like level 3 trespass or level 3 theft. So like theft under $100, or, trespass that, I don't even really know what trespass 3, I don't know how you get from a trespass 3 to trespass 2. I'm not a law enforcement person, but what we're looking at is like those lower level crimes, that we can deflect those. And that's kind of the direction that the team is going, to allow more people the opportunity to participate in deflection. But yeah, these are all decisions that need to be made by the criminal justice team and by the DA in Clatsop County.
Thank you.
Shira, on the CBH side of Hawkseye Department, how's things going over there?
It's going pretty well. It's going pretty well as far as like the utilization and, like I said, the transition from shelter to permanent supported, and really we're seeing it be effective. And we're working through smoothing out partnerships with property management at Pinehurst. I think that oftentimes property managers are really unfamiliar with working with the severe and persistent mentally ill population. And so understanding what normal behavior is for someone with a psychotic disorder is really different from, a neurotypical individual. And so kind of getting Pinehurst to be, to kind of come along with us and learn about our population and develop some compassion and understanding for the folks that we're serving, is something that we're working on.
How many units are you or up or occupied?
12 of the 14 available. And we have 2 pending applications, so it should be full soon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. And while we're on the topic, Seamus, how's Esperanza Village going over there?
We are currently we have 9 units full at this moment. One person unfortunately left today. But I believe we still have 1 unit is reserved for Providence. I'm not sure the capacity on that. I think it's they need to discharge somebody with nowhere to go. And then the difficult part we're having is getting people to actually show up and come in.
And how many units are over there? 12 or 14?
There's 15, one of which is occupied by an on-site staff member.
Yeah. Okay, so 14 available then.
Right.
Yeah, you got 9, so that's good. Getting
Yeah. There's I'm looking at it, and aside from the one that's reserved and the one for staff, there's 3 open.
great. Okay. All right, thanks. Any more questions or comments for Shira or even for Seamus?
Yeah, Seamus, I got a question. When you have somebody leave, like you said, somebody left today, do you do some kind of a exit interview process to see if
We
there's
do.
why they're doing and what you can do about it?
Right. We find out, in that what was the reason they're leaving, where are they going? If it was a disciplinary issue, we make sure to document that. If it was, they're moving on. We had one gentleman who left who wound up moving to Utah. So in that one, that's how we marked it down, is that they were moving on to another opportunity somewhere else. This one today was the first one where it wasn't leaving of their own volition. Yeah, we definitely have the exit process. I pull out and read that document to you, but I'm honestly not sure where it's at. That usually happens on a different shift. Yeah.
I can imagine there is discipline that has to happen sometimes.
Sadly, it has to happen once in a while, but it has yet to get very bad. So
yeah, and I'm kind of surprised that it's been that good.
we have yet to have the police show up, so I figure we're doing pretty good there.
That's
Yeah.
good. Good thing. Okay. All right, thank you. Let's go to reports and we'll go to Jill. Jill, is she there?
Coming.
There you go.
My
You're up.
computer is having a little lag. Yeah, so we have been super busy as always here. I know that Lisa will probably be share some of the work that she's done, so I'll leave some of that to her. But we received a small grant from the Roundhouse Foundation that needed to be used specifically for vaccines. And so we were able to purchase some high dose flu vaccine for 65 and older, and then partner with some of our senior centers and meal sites to be able to outreach and provide that, because that's something that we normally do not get within our normal supplies and programs. And we still do have some left over. So even though we're kind of, a lot of folks have already gone to get their vaccines, but if you know of anybody that is 65 and older and would like a high dose flu vaccine, they can come into our office and get that. On January 14th, we will be taking our mobile clinic to Bornstein's to do about some vaccine outreach there. And then I have been working with our hospitals, with Providence and Columbia Memorial Hospital, back into the process of the community health needs assessment. Again, I feel like we just got done with that, but I'm starting all over. So kind of going back to our original conversation as well, I think that there's going to be opportunities for this group to have input in that process and being able to provide feedback in our community health needs assessment with our hospitals. We've got it is the season, and so there's lots of respiratory stuff going on out there. Pertussis increase in Oregon, so cover your coughs, wash your hands, and get vaccinated, especially for pertussis. That is to protect our babies who are at the highest risk. So we are the carriers. So if we can protect ourselves, that protects the babies who are unable to get the vaccine. And we have a few different open positions. We have an environmental health specialist position that's posted. So if you know anybody, health promotion specialist, Elisa has a position open as well. And then our permit tech, Annette, who's been with us for many, many moons, is finally retiring. So we will be replacing her soon. That position has yet to be posted, but it will be posted soon. That's kind of my quick updates.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Anybody have any questions or comments for Jill? If
Jill,
not,
I was in a meeting this morning, a business meeting, and they were talking about, I think, is it neurovirus? Does that sound right?
Norovirus?
Yeah. What's going, I don't even know what that is, and is that real? Is that a problem, I guess?
They're definitely respiratory, like all over the board. So I am not one right now to have great talking points, and I don't want to misspeak and say anything. I'm happy to get information and have it sent out with the notes if that would be helpful for you. But I don't know what's currently happening with that. We've had some other things going on that we've been dealing with. So can I get you some of that information and have Lisa send it out with notes? Okay.
That'd be great.
I also, when I was thinking about the earlier conversation about, having meetings with the Board of County Commissioners at their work sessions, all Board of County Commissioner meetings are open to the public unless they're an executive session. But if this committee wants to have specific time on an agenda, that's also something that we need to be able to just, and this is a little bit in the weeds for now, but I just want you to be thinking about it. We need to know more than 2 weeks in advance, because we have to do all this agenda prep and have that to Teresa prior to any meeting. So, there is a lot of prep that we need to have ahead of time before that happens. We can't just show up and want to talk to the board. So I just kind of want to put that out there as part of that discussion as well. In the weeds for now, but just wanted to add it.
great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Jill? Okay, if not, we'll go to Lisa.
Thank you. We have, well, for me, I have 4 programs that I think are applicable for this group. Actually, 5. I'm not going to give an update on problem gambling this time around, probably. But so we received $126,341 from the Opioid Settlement Board for primary prevention to our alcohol and other drug prevention program. And so we got our plan approved for that money that we'll be using through 2020, the end of 2026, or I think it's June 30th, 2026, 2027. And we're planning on doing a data capacity assessment with that money. We talk a lot in our programs about making data-driven decisions, but the reality is that the information and the data that you need and that a lot of our community partners need is very fragmented and difficult to find. And if you don't have a data analyst that works at your organization because you don't have the resources to hire one, like public health and like all of the other community, or not all, but most of the community organizations, it's really hard if you're trying to have those discussions to be able to make data-driven decisions. So I was approved to use this money or a portion of this money to fund hiring a contractor to work with us to kind of answer the questions of what data do us and our community partners have access to now? What data do they need? What data could we be collecting and sharing with each other? And how is it that it would be most accessible to have that data available to our community partners and the public health? So after we complete this, right now we're just doing interviews with potential contractors. We got a quote from OHSU. They do data a lot and they do assessments. We got a quote from the Reed Group, who's worked with us before. They worked with us for our previous community health needs assessment that we did a few years ago. And then they also worked, and then I also got a quote from CoMagine, who works with the state frequently and also works with data. And so we're just doing interviews. Me and Jill are doing kind of interviews and formal talks with each of those three to decide which contractor we want to go with. I think that work is really going to be wrapped in with the community health needs assessment and some other assessments that we're doing that I'll talk about in a minute, because they're all interrelated. If you do an assessment on anything, part of that assessment is data. And so I think there's an opportunity to start looking at what data we need with every initiative and project that we do, and to have that information feed into the data capacity assessment. And then, so I'm excited about that. And then for the, or does anybody have any questions about that before I just jump into the next program?
So Lisa, I'm wondering, so you're talking about people if they need data, where, so this group you're getting, are they gonna interview everybody and see what data they're using and what data they need? And then if they need data, are there sources out there that would have the data you don't know about, or help me with that process?
So I think that all three of the contractors outlined as part of their contract, their contracts or their process is doing like basically like an assessment on their own of what data is really available. Like the Columbia Pacific CCO, the OHP provider, they have a data dashboard. Youth do, they do a student health survey every year that's data that's available. There's all sorts of data that's out there at a federal, a state, and a local level, but you have to know exactly where their databases are, and then it's not always broken down and analyzed in a way that if you're not a data analyst, you can actually understand what it is. So that's one piece. They're going to like look at what data is already available and what format it's in and how accessible that data is. Then they are going to do a portion where they will probably do focus groups and key informant interviews, where they are going to go out and ask the same questions to us and our community partner organizations and the focus groups of that involve those organizations of what data it is they need and what data they have, because what they're seeing in data and what their needs are might be different than what public health is specifically seeing on the inside of our organization. And then they're going to take those two pieces of information and they're going to write a report. Well, they'll also probably do a part of the questions that they'll be asking is like, how would it be best for that data to be shared back with people? And so they'll get all sorts of opinions and ideas from that. And they're also professionals, all three of them are, who work with data all the time and work in public health all the time. And so they probably have some ideas of their own too, of what they've seen from other counties. several of them have talked about, oh yeah, this county, we saw them do this, or, you know, this county has a dashboard and they're using this platform to do that dashboard, or this one, you know, so different counties are doing different things to make that data accessible. And so then they will also go out and they will look at what the options are for having accessible data available to the community, and specifically to community-based organizations that are trying to make data-driven decisions. And then they will make a report and share that with the whole report. So bye, Shira, thanks. And they will share that report, and we'll share it back with all the people who were a part of that process. And then we'll use that report to take it back to those stakeholders and say, okay, so, which includes you guys, and say, so what do you think we should do? You know, based on this report and what we found, what do you guys think would be the best path forward for us to have more data available? Is there data we could be collecting easily? Is there data that we could be pulling into a dashboard? So it could be a lot of options that I'm not even thinking of once we get to that stage of what the recommendations are. And then we would go back and have the conversation as a community of what we wanted to do at that point to try and make more data accessible to our community.
Thank you.
Lisa, if I can ask real quick that once we have all that data, and we figured out how to make it accessible, what is the next steps? What's the hope, right? What is the vision for what we do with that data?
The vision is that when we're having strategic conversations as community-based organizations about, you know, what is our plan? You know, what population should we be focusing on for X initiative? What is the actual need of this group? You know, that we're actually looking at data. It's not because right now, if you don't have the data, a lot of it is based on, which is also very valid and important to bring to the conversation, but it's mostly based on the experience of the people who are in the personal experiences, or personal, professional, individual experiences of the people who are in the room making those strategic plans, if you don't have data available to you. So it's like, you know, that's a great place to start, and that's a great place to validate the strategic plan you're making. But you also need to look and say, like, are the majority of people in the group that we're trying to target with this initiative, are they actually experiencing this problem? You know, like, what does the data say? You know, and if we don't have that data, then it is just based on the individual experience of the people in the room, which may or may not be validated if we looked at data. And this one will be specifically focusing, the static capacity assessment will specifically be focusing on data around alcohol and drug use and overdose, because that's what, you know, this is opioid settlement funds. And so, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to do this data capacity assessment and to have that be a focus, but for this data set to be a really great example of kind of whatever the larger problem might be around data, or whatever the larger solution could potentially be around data.
Excellent,
Randy?
thank you.
Randy, if it's okay, I'd like this to be something that's reported on in this committee, if that sounds okay, because it is drug and alcohol, which is one of our.
You're muted, Randy.
Yes, that's a great idea. Sorry about that. Yes, I'd like to see that as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm making a note so I don't forget. Did anyone else have any more questions about that project? That project, like I said, is going to be completed in 2027. So in February, I might not have another update. We might still be selecting a contractor. And then once we select a contractor, because I have some other pieces to our other plans that have to be completed by June of 2025, this one is probably going to be moving a little bit slower than those other ones. And so I might not have an update every month, but whenever something that when we pick a contractor, when they start when they start moving forward on different, when they have a roadmap of what their plans, I can definitely just continue to share that information with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so the next plan that I'm going to talk about is our tobacco prevention and education program. Let me just pull that plan up so that this one's very long, so I will just highlight different things on it. We are at the highest. There's 3 tiers of funding, and the higher you get in the tiers, the more funding you get, but also the more work that you're supposed to be doing, kind of like on a strategic, on a systems level, to be trying to reduce the use of tobacco in our community and make people more aware of the risks. The first strategy that we have on that is that we are going to be assessing, or we're kind of in the process of assessing, the Clatsop County Tobacco Retail License ordinance. That's the ordinance that you guys supported in 2019 and 2020 and is currently implemented. Some of our staff is doing the enforcement piece of that also, but that's not through the prevention program. That's funded through the license fees that we collect from retailers. We're thinking that there might need to be some tweaks to that program so that it can be more effective, and that might require some updates to the ordinance. So we're in the process of assessing that with the county council, Anthony, and trying to make sure that it's a sustainable ordinance. Because the state has, since we passed our ordinance, the state has also passed a tobacco retail license ordinance, and it's not, in some ways it's not as strong as ours, because ours also has that you are not allowed to have discounts on tobacco products within Clatsop County, and the state's ordinance does not include that. We also have that you have to be more than 1,000 feet away from a school in order to operate, unless, I think you can be grandfathered in if you were already operating before the ordinance passed, but we won't accept new applications for a business that's selling tobacco within 1,000 feet of a school, and that's also not in the state ordinance. One thing that's a little weaker about our ordinance than the state's is that the state will track complaints and continue to have increasing fine amounts for 5 years for retailers. So if a retailer had a violation within the last 5 years, according to the state statute, then they would still get a higher fine amount. Ours is only for 24 months, so for 2 years that we're tracking. So basically every 2 years for a retailer it resets. So if we look back for the previous 24 months and they haven't gotten a violation, then we treat it like it's their first violation. For the state, they're looking back 5 years. So that makes our ordinance a little bit weaker than the state's. But in general, our ordinance is pretty strong, and we just need to make sure that it is written in a way that we can enforce it in a sustainable manner. The other option would be that we could decide not to go with our ordinance, and we could start doing the state's ordinance, because even without our ordinance, the state's one would be applicable. And the state allows us to keep our own ordinance, even though state law supersedes county law, because it is in line with and being enforced in line with how the state's enforcing it. So we're in constant contact with the state TRL program to make sure that we are consistently enforcing our own ordinance the way that the state enforces theirs. Otherwise, if there was one county that just wasn't enforcing the state's or was being allowed to not enforce the state, the same level as the state, then it would kind of weaken the state tobacco retail license ordinance overall. So we're assessing that program. Any questions about that?
Any updates on the challenges with the flavored tobacco?
So the state, not the well, at the state level, there's an organization, it's not coming from OHA, but there's an organization that is proposing a flavor ban as part of the tobacco retail license for the state. And if that does pass, then it would also apply to Clatsop County. Since anything that's stronger in their law, we also enforce, basically, other than the 5 years versus 2 years, because that's very specific to us. So yeah, so we're kind of waiting and seeing how that goes. We haven't really had capacity to talk about that again at a county level, and I don't know if that will be included in our assessment of the sustainability of the program at this time, because it is a kind of a hot button issue.
Okay, thanks.
But yeah, keep our fingers crossed that it works with the state.
Lisa, Lisa had a question on that. So when you talk about tobacco, are you also talking about the smokeless tobacco?
Yeah, it also includes vaping. It's any sort of inhalant delivery system. And so that includes all sorts of vaping. And it also includes a lot of devices like what are they called? Like the glass pipes and things that you generally associate with marijuana use. Those are also inhalant delivery systems, and so it regulates those as well. So none of those are allowed to have sales in Clatsop County, discounts in Clatsop County, and it regulates that as well.
Thanks. Thank you.
Another one of the things that we're working on, and this is for our tobacco prevention and education plan, and also for our alcohol and other drug prevention education plan, is that we within our department have identified that there's kind of a gap in information for the perinatal kind of group around tobacco use, harm reduction, and best practices, and also for alcohol and other drug use and best practices. I haven't come across some really great, just kind of one-pager handouts that you could give to someone if you were counseling them. And they were in the perinatal time period, which is like when you're pregnant and postpartum. And so we're also through CHART, the Community Health Advocacy and Resource Team. We're incubating the perinatal task force with Kestrel Gates and the postpartum navigators. And so we're going to work with them and also with our maternal child health nurses who do home visits for folks who are pregnant and postpartum, as well as for families who have children with disabilities up to the age of 21, and with WIC, which is Women, Infant, and Children. And we're going to try to either find or develop some one-pagers that we can share with the community. We're also including outreach in this strategy. And so that might include, or that we plan to have that include hosting another community baby shower, because having those kind of events to support parents and people who are pregnant is a huge protective factor for people. When they have those kind of resources, they're much less likely to use drugs, alcohol, tobacco, to engage in those kind of risky behaviors. And so we look forward to working with Kestrel for the next community baby shower, hopefully by June of 2025. Any questions on that? And then we also enforce the Indoor Clean Air Act. So that's in our plan. We receive complaints. Anyone who makes a complaint about someone smoking or vaping within 10 feet of an entrance of a business, or vaping or smoking indoors, the complaint gets forwarded to us, and then we follow up on it. So Carolina, our health promotion specialist, and the new health promotion specialist, when they exist, are both going to be helping enforce that, continue to help enforce that. That's like the minimum requirement of the tobacco prevention education program, is that you enforce that. So we've also been doing youth engagement with tobacco prevention. So we did a contest called Escape the Vape, which were youth made kind of PSA videos of the dangers of vaping. And then it was, this is like one of those projects that going forward, I think that you guys could be included in, because then their projects were judged, and there were winners to it who received, it was like an equal amount of money for themselves and for their school. And there was some classrooms, like I think in Napa, the health teacher made it an assignment for their students. And so, you know, we had a whole class of kids that submitted videos, but there was all the others, I don't know if all the other schools, but several of the other schools also submitted videos. So that was later or earlier this year. By the end of this school year, that was last school year. So by the end of this school year, we're also hoping to do a kind of an activity with at least one class at a school district where we do, it's called a photo voice project, where we have students go out and take pictures of related to tobacco in the community, and then bring kind of an artistic project, and then bring them back. And it goes along with like a whole kind of facilitated class, or one or two sessions in a class where we're talking about tobacco with youth before they go out and they do the photo part of the project. And Carolina will be taking the lead on that one, because she is the positive youth development specialist for our department. And so she's the one who mostly works with the schools and takes point on that. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. And then we also, because we have kind of some carryover funds, because we have 2 years where we're allowed to spend an amount of money, and we've had a lot of staff turnover in positions that were open for quite a long time. And so because of that, and because we got some money from Measure 108, which was pre-me. So if you have questions about Measure 108, I'm going to make Jill answer them. But so we got a little extra money as well for that. And that was all carried over to this current fiscal year. And so because of that, we've also just created this pot of money, both in the tobacco prevention education money and the alcohol and other drug prevention education program, so that if schools have an initiative that they want to work on, and there's some way that having some extra coordination from us and funding would help make that initiative more effective or possible, then we have the money to be able to contribute that. And we're not always able to say that. So I think it's really exciting that for the rest of this school year, that is something that we can offer to schools and youth-based organizations. And right now we're the Seaside School District asked us to partner with them on the new drug talk, which is a synthetic opioid information for parents and for anyone who works with or would like to support youth in understanding what kind of the effects and the dangers are of synthetic opioids on youth. They're going to be showing the half-an-hour video from the new drug talk, which is an initiative by an organization that's specifically focused on reducing overdose fatalities in youth. And then they're going to have an expert panel of folks there to help answer parents' questions or guardians' questions and have a discussion on how to support youth best in our community. I know that CBH is also partnering with them on that. Other school districts are also doing it. I'll make sure to send out the flyer after this. But it's on, and make sure I get that. It's on Tuesday, January 14th. And that is it's from 6 to 8 at the Times Theater. And you guys would all be welcome to come. It's not just for parents, it's for anyone who wants to support youth and talk about kind of the effects that synthetic opioids have on youth in our community. It's a really great program, and I think it's going to be an interesting video as well. Free dinner and raffle prizes, and naloxone also available. Randy, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. We have 10 minutes left and we still want to get to an update on the grant funding. So
Oh, okay.
just
Well,
give a
then,
heads up on time wise.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm not going to give the rest of mine then, because that's like I think I'm only halfway through all of the things that we're working on right now. So
maybe we can finish that on the next meeting.
yes, that sounds good. Yeah, we're doing strategic planning for harm reduction. We're starting to work on data with our overdose prevention, like gathering data on our overdose prevention plan. But I can talk more about that and the rest of the initiatives on our alcohol and other drug and tobacco prevention programs next time. Thank you.
That'd be great. Yep.
Can I just
Okay.
ask real quick, Lisa? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said that you're going to be sending a flyer to us
Yeah.
for that. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'll
Thank
send it out right after this, so that you guys have it before the 14th. And you're welcome to share it with whoever's to make sure that it's well attended. Free dinner.
you. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
And then
And-
Lisa,
And I would
go
just
ahead.
recommend, maybe that we put Lisa like as an agenda item versus
Yes.
in the staff report, since this is kind of, if it's going to be some ongoing stuff that she's going to want to make sure that you guys know about and have input in, and that way it's a little bit more strategic.
Yep. Agreed.
Thanks, Joe.
Lisa, do you want to give an update on the grant funding? I know Monica's not here. Do you want to give that update, or Jill? Either one of you.
So I know that the last time that Monica mentioned it in the meeting, I immediately went forward, and she said that in January they would be hopefully getting an update on a couple of different things that the funding for the grants were contingent on. We're at the beginning of January and Monica's not here, and she probably wouldn't have had the update by now anyway. So it might have been a little bit optimistic of me to think that she would already know by now. So I'll just move it forward to the
The next
February
meeting. Yeah.
update, so that when she's here and January has lapsed, so hopefully she's gotten some answers to some of those questions to be able to fill you guys in where it's at with the grant funding.
Great. Anybody have any more questions or comments for Lisa? No, if not, we will move to the good of the order. Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
I just wanted to mention, I'm on the Service Area Advisory Committee for Providence Hospital, and I don't know if you guys have heard, but the nurses are going to be striking, are scheduled to strike Friday, January 10th, starting 6 a.m. Providence is just working on this, but it does include Seaside. So, so just an awareness that that's going on.
Thanks. Thanks for the update there. Yeah, I read about that. I saw that in the news. So anybody else have anything for the good of the order? If
I just have a question, Linda. You might not be able to answer this. I can definitely respond to Jason, but when I saw the list of where it's going to impact, it didn't mention like the clinics. Will it impact our what are they called? Not the
urgent cares.
urgent cares. Thank you.
Yeah.
Urgent cares.
It was just looking, let's see, let's see, allow providers, all represent striking caregivers. I don't know for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'll email Jason.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. Okay, if nobody has anything else, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. It is 4:25, and we'll see you again on Thursday, February 6th at 3 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.